I bring you greetings from the Western Cape Provincial Council of Churches in association with SACC, as well as Kagiso Trust and the KwaZulu Christian Council of Churches. We are addressing all young people between 18 and 35 who are registered voters to encourage you to do voting. I am Rodney Whiteman. I'm the chair of the Western Cape Province Council of Churches, and I have with me here Reverend Sikawe Makabalo, General Secretary of the Western Provincial Council of Churches, and then Reverend Alet Slazes from the Dutch Reformed Church in Parow, and Sililo Arendse, very animated young lady, representing the Belleville Methodist Church. We are seeking to engage you and be engaged and to encourage you to take seriously your voting on the 29th of May. I will now ask those who have joined me on this panel to speak their minds and to give you encouragement around why it is important for you to vote. Sililo, can you share your thoughts with our young people on this very important and life-changing matter in our country?
Thank you so much, Rodney, and good day to everyone who's listening and who's watching. It is such a privilege for me to be here, and I'm excited to be talking about a very important part of the ministry that I'm a part of, which is the youth. It is important for the youth to take their voting seriously because their country depends on that particular vote. Let us also remember that we are a very young country as South Africa. The majority of us living in this country fall within the ambit that is called the youth. And so if us as young people do not take seriously the responsibility of voting, it means that we are throwing the country to oblivion, basically. We are basically saying whatever comes, comes. And that's exactly what is going to happen if we do not vote as young people. So it is important in order for us to guide the trajectory of the political landscape in South Africa to go and vote on the 29th of May 2024.
Perhaps I can engage you to say that our democracy is pretty young still. Those of us that had voted at the beginning in 1994 only had 6 chances to vote. And we voted because of those who had given their life for the struggle towards democracy. So that's also a youthful point. Can you continue that conversation?
Yes, definitely. I think voting is to take up space and make your voice count and say, I believe in this country. I want to be here, and this country matters for me. So I think we often do not want to talk about politics because we do not feel we have the knowledge, but you do have the knowledge because you are a citizen. What happens in voting stations affects you as a person. So that's why we should continue this democratic system that we have the privilege of being part of.
To just engage you on a point you made, it's important for our young people and all registered voters to go to the poll. But I'm sure going to the poll is also going into Parliament for the next 5 years to help develop a better situation for our people, for current times and for the future. Sikawa, how will you respond to that?
Yes, indeed. Participation in changes and in shaping the future includes exercising your right to vote. To vote is a democratic right. It's a participation as well. So the moment people step back, particularly young people, then it might be difficult to participate again, to fall onto the track of participating in shaping the future of our country. So we have to participate. It begins here. It begins by exercising your right to vote, and then it follows up by shaping and reshaping policies and participating in that as well. It also follows up by being active as citizens, in shaping our democracy going forward. So once one does not participate from the beginning step, it is very difficult then to follow your participation in the shaping of the future of the country.
Thank you, Sikawa. Silalo, you work with young people. You're part of their development. Is there a necessity that some of them are reluctant to take on this responsibility?
Rodney, I think stats show us that the majority of our young people are reluctant to go and vote. And that is why we have only 16% of young people who have registered to vote. The question is, where is the rest? And why are they not registered to vote? It's because of the same reluctance that they have. However, it is also because young people feel like they are too young most of the time. All of a sudden, we expect them to be old enough to go and vote, and they feel the disconnect that we boxing them in certain boxes that they do not want to be a part of. And it's almost like a strike or a toy of some sort for them not to go and vote. It's for them to say, we don't care because you don't care about us. But I also want to say to the young people, you get the government that you deserve. If you believe you deserve good marks, you put in the work in order for you to get those good marks. And now, in order for us to get the government that we deserve, we as young people have the right to put in the work to go and vote. Also knowing that voting is not just a right, it is also a responsibility that us as young people have towards our country. So it's very important for us to go out and vote.
So, Annelie, do you think, therefore, that the churches need to create that space where young people can be engaged and engage on this level? We often hear politics and religion are not supposed to meet each other. But is that true?
Yes, it's so funny because I know a lot of us are taught you do not talk about money, you do not talk about religion, and you do not talk about politics. But voting isn't, when you break it down, the basic foundation of voting isn't politics. It's not about being part of this big politic system. It's carrying out your responsibility, as Ilalo just said. It's being a responsible citizen and a responsible Christian. We are the stewards of this earth, of South Africa, this country. We are made for a time such as now. We hear it, a lot of people in the Bible tells us, we read in Esther. So to take on your responsibility as a Christian is to make a difference where you are now. And where are we now? We are standing on the brink of election. And it is your responsibility to also be a vocation or to fulfill your vocation as a disciple. So you do not have to get involved in a political party to be responsible and to get involved in your community. You do not have to wait for declarations to be affirmed coming from parties to be responsible. And the church's responsibility is not to preach politics, but to preach what are your role in the future of our country. And I think that is a way we can create the space to remind, especially the youth, that this is now their time to shine. They have to take up their calling and make the future they want to see happen now in a few days.
So, Sikawa, I, as the Western Cape Province Council of Churches, we are so privileged to have Kagiso Trust and KwaZulu Christian Council of Churches to partner with, because is education and proper information not one way in which the church can help all registered people, but particularly our young people, deal with the reluctance, the apathy they feel, because they haven't seen change, proper change yet?
Indeed. Indeed, one of the responsibilities of the church is to be a teacher. That's who we are. It is to educate, and education opens eyes, gives a clear perspective. So indeed, yes, we are dealing with disillusionment. People are disillusioned for various reasons. They are disillusioned because they hear repeatedly in the news about corruption. So it feels like if I participate, I'm just enabling other people to be corrupt. Those are the things that they hear. They hear no change from the past and rather things getting worse. That's what they hear. And they see that in the news, and so it brings about disillusionment as well. They hear that if there's not going to be a future for me, as I serve a diverse community, other people feel like I don't have space here because I'm of a wrong color or something like that. And so all those things that they are hearing, it's the responsibility of the church to bring about a clearer perspective, to teach, so that people don't only see the negative. Some of the things are factual, yes, they are true, but to see a clearer perspective of who we need to be. Just a point, Bishop Tutu dreamt of a rainbow nation. It's a possibility, but yes, there will be pitfalls, there will be hurdles to jump for us to reach that goal. We may not see that as a goal anymore or defining our unity, but unity is still a cause that we need to fight for. Other parties call it non-racialism, the betterment, the development of all the poor and the rural. We need to work towards this, all of us. Minimizing crime, it's a responsibility for all. But if you only see the negative, then you can't see why you need to be actively involved in it. So the church is there to bring about light, and the teaching comes with that.
So in other words, we are saying we have a common citizenry, and therefore we are meant to be responsible together. We need to participate together. Sililo, can you tell us what will happen on the day when we go to the polls? What should we be expecting?
We should expect to have coffees in our hands. We should expect to have water in our hands, because we are going to be on long queues. That is the first thing that young people need to know, to be prepared for. They should be prepared to be at the polling stations for half of the day or even the whole day, because essentially it is something that we are going to do in order to be patriots of our own country as South Africa. Another thing, can I just also piggyback on what Ska was saying, talking about education? I think what we should expect is that as the church and as the IEC, because we have to be unbiased, we should be creating spaces where young people are going to be comfortable to stand and to be at for half of the day. Young people like vibrancy, they like to see things, they like to hear things. We need to make sure that we make the environment on the day as pleasing and welcoming to young people as much as we can. The lack of education on social media and the television has been worrying for me personally as a young person, because when we started voting, every second advert was about elections. There were TV programs that were created specifically about and for voter education in our country, but now we don't see that anymore. Even though we have such a vast variety of social media, we have Twitter, Facebook, or X, we have TikTok that many young people are part of, and some of them are even monetizing that particular space, but we do not see systems, even the church, using that space to educate young people. And I think it is very important for the church to be educational in that particular space, therefore confirming the fact that we all have common citizenry, as the old and the young, especially South Africans. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, we have a common role, and that is for us to be patriotic about our country, to look at what it is that we want from this country and together work towards it.
And isn't it also important to us to capture the youthful experience of when we're going to get our IDs? Now we have our IDs. What was your experience like now that you can vote, having received an ID?
Yes, I think I feel a sort of excitement now while we're speaking. because this will only be my second time I can vote. And it's really a privilege to vote, to have that understanding that my opinion counts. Often we think like it's one vote. It's not going to matter if I don't go vote. But it does matter, because a lot of people think, oh, it's only one vote. And then it ends up that only 16% of our young people between the ages of 18 and 35 registered. So only 16% of us will have a vote, will have a voice. And this is now the time to encourage all your friends who registered to go and vote, because they will make a difference. So yes, you have an ID, you have that privilege. So remember your ID when you go and vote. Make sure where your voting station is. Go on the website of the IEC and make sure you go to the right voting station. Gather a group of friends in your area and go together. Make it a fun day. I know all of us are so excited because it's an off day and we can't wait just to relax and sleep late. But it's not a public holiday. It's a voting day. It's a specific day for something specific. So go early, make a day out of it. It's like a road trip. Take friends, make new friends, because we will meet people in the long queues. Like Sililo said, take something to drink, something to eat, take your own pen, and come prepared. You have to go and do some homework beforehand. As we heard, we aren't prepared with a lot of information about which party to vote for. Go and read manifestos. We see the posters on the lamp poles, and we see the new parties, we see their names, but what do they stand for? What are they going to change? And don't rely on empty promises, because we know some promises are made now 2 weeks before the election. So go read manifestos, go see who are the parties, what are they standing for, because you will be overwhelmed. This year there will be 3 ballots. You will have to draw your cross on 3 different ballots: national, provincial, and then also regional. So you have 3 chances to vote. Make sure you know who you want to vote for, and don't just draw a cross to draw a cross. I think that is the privilege when you have your ID. To go and do those things, and seek out, go on TikTok and search South African national election. You will find the right people, but they just have to come and on your For You page.
Well, it reminded me that I was 34 when I cast my first vote in this democracy of South Africa. Many other people have got a lot of history around this, and we were excited. We were excited about Madiba as our leader. We're excited about the change. We were more excited about the fact that there was no bloodshed during that particular day and that period, although lots of blood fell in our history in the past. And we hope that that never comes our way again. You can make a difference if you take this voting seriously. As young people, you are our current and our future. Sikawa, does that mean, therefore, that as the church we must encourage the communities to have a prayer post where young people can also come and pray for that day?
Oh, yes. Important aspect of the life of the church is to bring everything to prayer. I'm hoping not just only on the day, but before. I'm hoping that churches are lighting up candles, reminding themselves each time they gather. We have one more Sunday before voting day, so if they can do that even then. Also, 2 things that I just wanted to, that were prompted. The first one is the fact that we are used as South Africans to long queues and to fellowship around long queues. I go to long queues. I love sport. Whenever I go watch cricket, And there was a very wonderful vibe when there was the Women's World Cup cricket, and we all queued. We all had our little camp chairs or just stools to sit around. We used to have that vibe. May we have that kind of vibe, even though we will be voting for different persons and different parties. But let's remember, it's for the sake of the future of our democracy. So let's not be, we may be divided in opinion, but let's not be divided as a people on that day and start fighting one another. And the second and the last point is our democracy is about 30 years. And so really, if you are 30 years, from 18 to 30 years, you should be voting now. Make a change. And I want to challenge the church and to say, listen, it's time now for us to engage 30-year-olds as to their understanding of democracy. What do they understand? What do they see the future of this country as? The church has a long, not just for these elections, but a long way to go. So Kagiso Trust and KZNCC have made this possible, and we're grateful to them. I hope that they can make it possible again for us to engage 18 years to 30-year-olds to get their perspective, to understand what is their view of democracy, how do they see it, because many of us, as you rightly say, democracy on that first year of voting meant something different. Now it's 30 years old. It should mean something different for a 30-year-old of today.
And that is why the Western Cape Provincial Council of Churches have taken on this partnership with KZN Council of Churches and Kagiso Trust to be involved in education around democracy, the responsibilities that go with that, together with voter education. We know that this is a huge task, and we know that our people are tired. But isn't this when we need the energy of young people? Don't you think?
I absolutely think so. If you are not tired, if you're not upset about the current nature of our country, then I do not know what is wrong with you. And for any and every young person who feels tired, who feels despondent, that is the more reason why you should get up on the 29th of May and go and vote, is so that your vote can tell you and guide where your fatigue is supposed to be directed. You cannot direct it to your mom's kitchen or your living room or TV games or whatever, but you need to direct it somewhere where it is going to bring change, it is going to bring evolution, it's going to bring the excitement of diversity. It would be amiss, because I'm here as a Methodist, it would be amiss for me not to talk about our Methodist rule of life as I motivate young people. Our Methodist rule of life says, do good. In order for us to do good, we need to do good for the country that we love so much. And going out to vote is actually that responsibility of doing good. It says, do no harm. If you do not go out to vote, you are actually harming the future of this country called South Africa, because you are basically saying, I am leaving it to somebody else's hands to take my country where I hope it goes, when it actually is in your hand. And it also says, stay in love with God. Staying in love with God simply means that you must love God and love this country so much that you will do whatever it takes as a citizen of this country to guide and steer this country to a future that will work not only for you, but only for the future of your own children. We have so many young people who now are on social grant. We are experiencing a shot in teenage pregnancies. We are experiencing a shot in the recipients of the 350 Rand grant, these are the things that we need to guard against because they might be crippling to us. They're a great benefit, yes, and we are eternally grateful to the government for that. But in the long run, they're not going to be sustainable for us as young people. Young people need to get out there, to train, to work, to be good citizens and tax-paying citizens of this country in order to make this country the best that it can be.
So you've already brought us to the point of the way forward. And you've said much, and we've said much around the table. One word that you'd like to give as a way forward to continue encouraging young people to take their citizenry responsibility?
I think one word is quite difficult, but change happens with action. So if we want to see the change, we need to do the appropriate action. And your first action is to cast your vote. Easy as that.
Thank you, Annalette. What do you say, Sikawe?
Young people, be excited about this. It's an opportunity that was never there for many people. It's an opportunity that divided the people of this country. Now be excited that you can shape the future that you dream of for this beloved South Africa.
One word doesn't mean one word. It can mean a sentence too. So just one word out of your thinking.
Your vote is your voice. It is not everywhere where you have an opportunity to stand tall and say what you think. And voting gives you that responsibility. It gives you that power to say, this is my voice, and I am casting it in a vote on a ballot paper, at least the 3 ballot papers that we're going to get. So go out and vote.
So young people, go out and vote. You are our future because you are our present. You are our inspiration. God bless you all.